The heavy tires of the customized Rolls-Royce screeched against the airport tarmac, disappearing into the hazy Abuja horizon. And with it, when the only woman Chairman Obinna had ever truly loved, the woman that captured her heart. He had just saved his 8 billion naira empire. He had just defeated his treacherous stepbrother in the most ruthless boardroom battle of his life. But standing there in the hot sun, surrounded by his wealth and bodyguards, Obinna felt like the poorest man on earth. He had won the war, but he had lost his heart. Tariq, his chief of security, stepped up beside him, his voice urgent. "Chairman, the vehicle's plates are registered to a sovereign diplomatic convoy. Do we intercept? I can mobilize our private security and the DSS escorts in 3 minutes." Obinna shook his head slowly. The billionaire's mind was already analyzing the battlefield. "No, Tariq. Those were not kidnappers. I saw the gold crest on the doors. Those were the elite royal guards of the Aranto kingdom. If we attack them on the highway, we do not just start a legal battle. We start a war with one of the most powerful, ancient kingdoms in the East. So let that be for now. But she is my queen, my heartbeat," Obinna said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Call the aviation team. Prepare my private jet. Clear the airspace to Enugu. We are flying to the east. I don't care if I have to buy the entire kingdom, block by block. I am bringing my wife home no matter what anyone cost me. I'd go bring my wife back." Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, inside the luxurious, soundproof cabin of the Rolls-Royce, Nneka sat frozen in a state of absolute, mind-bending shock. She clutched her small travel bag to her chest like a shield. Just hours ago, she was a heartbroken caterer running away to save a billionaire fiancé's empire. Now, she was sitting opposite the Prime Minister of Aranto, a man draped in heavy, priceless royal fabrics. "Life, Princess Nneka," the Prime Minister said gently, his voice thick with decades of sorrow. "You have your father's eyes. Prince Ezekiel was a great, great man, a man of peace and a family of wolves. When your wicked uncle plotted to assassinate you both 25 years ago to steal the throne," the Prime Minister continued, "your father made the ultimate sacrifice. He gave up his royal title, stripped himself of his wealth, and hid you in the poverty of Abuja just to keep you alive. The debts he owed, the struggles he endured, it was all a smokescreen, a shield made by a king to protect his only princess." Tears spilled over Nneka's eyelashes as the painful puzzle of her childhood finally made sense. Her father hadn't been a failure. He had been a hero. He had carried the weight of poverty, so she wouldn't have to carry the weight of a coffin. She now realized why his father never talked about his root. The pretenders have finally been banished, the Prime Minister declared as a vehicle pulled into a massive, breathtaking palace compound. "The uncle who exiled you and your father has passed away. The throne is empty, and by sacred blood right, it belongs to you." Nneka sat looking in shock and disbelief. As Nneka tentatively stepped out of the vehicle, the sound of traditional Ojin gongs echoed through the air. Hundreds of palace guards, maidens, and villagers instantly dropped to their knees, bowing their heads in absolute submission to the princess. But as she looked at the magnificent ivory gates and the unimaginable wealth laid at her feet, Nneka didn't feel like royalty. She only felt empty. She felt the agonizing, hollow absence of the man who had loved her when she was nothing, the man who cherished her even in poverty, the man who shielded her from shame. 2 days later, the grand throne room of Aranto was thick with the smell of kola nut, traditional incense, and heavy tension. The Ezen Council, the supreme ruling body of the kingdom, sat in a semicircle, their faces unreadable. Nneka stood before them. She had been bathed in essential oils, dressed in the finest hand-woven aquite fabrics, and adorned with very, very expensive ancestral coral beads that had been locked away for a century. She looked every inch a stunning, undeniable queen. But her heart was a battlefield of turmoil. Chief Ikamfuna, the oldest and sternest of the elders, struck his brass-tipped walking stick on the marble floor. The sharp clack silenced the murmurs in the room. "Princess Nneka," the chief declared, his voice booming, "you are the rightful heir. The blood of our ancestors runs in your veins. But tradition is tradition, and it cannot be bent. A woman cannot sit on the grand throne of Aranto alone. To claim your crown, you must marry a man of pure royal bloodline to solidify your reign." Before Nneka could even formulate a response, a man stepped forward from the shadows of the royal pillars. It was Prince Ikenna, the heir to the wealthy, neighboring kingdom of Udi. Prince Ikenna possessed immense generational wealth and royal blood, but his eyes carried the exact same dark, toxic arrogance Nneka had seen in men like Chikabak and Abuja. He didn't look at Nneka as a partner. He looked at her as a beautiful trophy to add to his massive collection. Respected elders of Aranto, Prince Ikenna smiled smoothly, his voice dripping with fake charm. My kingdom is willing to merge our vast wealth with yours. I will take the princess as my wife, and together our two kingdoms will rule the entire eastern region. It is a perfect, highly profitable match. No. Nneka's voice cut through the heavy air of the throne room like a sharpened blade. The elders gasped in unison. Prince Ikenna's smile dropped instantly, his pride violently stung. I respect our ancestral traditions, elders, Nneka said, her chest heaving with emotion. But my heart is not a piece of land to be traded for power. It is already taken. I am engaged to a man in Abuja. Chief Ikamfuna scoffed loudly, practically rolling his eyes. A man in Abuja? The Prime Minister told us about your miserable life there. You were a roadside caterer selling rice to security guards. This man you speak of, this Abuja man, what royal blood does he have? What kingdom does he rule? Nneka raised her chin proudly. He has no royal blood. In fact, when I met him, he was sweeping the dusty floors of an estate in the hot sun. But he has the character of 10 kings. He built me a 50 million naira restaurant, and I gave it all back just to protect him from losing his own legacy. He is the only king I will ever serve. The room erupted in mocking, condescending laughter. Prince Ikenna laughed the loudest, his voice dripping with venomous ridicule. Wetting to worry this on, a sweeper. Ikenna mocked, shaking his head. You want to bring a common, dirty sweeper to sit on the sacred throne of Aranto? Princess, you spent far too much time in poverty. He done chop your brain. The hunger has done confuse your mind. Nneka glared right back at him, her spirit unbroken. That sweeper has more honor in his pinky finger than you have in your entire royal lineage. A kingdom built on arrogance is poorer than a beggar on the street. Before Prince Ikenna could retaliate, the heavy wooden doors of the throne room were pushed open violently. A senior palace guard rushed in, sweating profusely and panting for air. He dropped to his knees before the elders. My lords, forgive me, the guard stammered. There is a man at the main palace gates. He came with a fleet of black jets that landed at the A-strip and a convoy of heavily armed men. We tried to send him away because he has no royal title, but what? Chief Ikamfuna barked, slamming his staff. The guard swallowed hard, his eyes wide with fear. But he just bought the only access road leading to the palace. He brought the bulldozers with him. He said if we do not open the gates in 2 minutes, he will turn this ancient kingdom into his private parking lot. Outside the towering ivory gates of the palace, Chairman Obinna stood like an immovable mountain. The Abuja heir had been left behind, replaced by the red dust of the east, but his aura of absolute dominance remained. Dozens of royal guard had their spears and rifles raised, pointing directly at his chest, but Obinna didn't even flinch. He hadn't come to use physical violence. He had come to deploy absolute, undeniable corporate firepower. With a loud groan, the massive palace gates creaked open. The elders marched out, furious at the sheer audacity of this intruder. Trailing behind them was Prince Ikenna, and finally, stepping into the sunlight, was Nneka. The moment Obinna saw her in her royal attire, time stopped. The shouting of the guards, the anger of the elders, the heat of the sun, it all faded into nothing. Nneka gasped, her hands flying to her chest. Her tears began to fall anew. Her sweeper had come for her. Who are you? Chief Ikamfuna thundered, breaking the silence. How dare a commoner threaten the sacred gates of Aranto? Do you wish to die today? Prince Ikenna stepped forward, sneering at Obinna's suit. You must be the foolish Abuja sweeper the princess spoke of. Listen to me, city boy. You cannot buy your way into royalty. Take your rented cars and go back to your gutters before I go tell these gurats to whip you well. Obinna didn't look at the prince. He didn't even acknowledge the threat. He simply raised a hand, signaling to Barrister Kalu. Kalu stepped forward, holding the digital tablet up for the elders to see. Elders of Oranto, Kalu spoke with clear, sharp legal authority. My client is Chairman Obinna Ease, the sole owner of the Ease Group. In the last 12 hours, he has legally acquired the international debts of the Udi Kingdom, Prince Ikena's supposedly wealthy kingdom. The First Bank of London was preparing to foreclose on them tomorrow morning. My client bought the debt in cash. Prince Ikena's arrogant smile vanished as if it had been slapped off his face. The color completely drained from his cheeks. Furthermore, Kalu continued smoothly, swiping the screen. Chairman Ease has just deposited 2 billion naira into the Oranto Kingdom Sovereign Community Development Fund. This money is earmarked specifically to build state-of-the-art hospitals and free schools for your poorest villagers. The alert should hit your royal accounts in 3, 2, 1. Chief Ikamfuna's financial aide looked at his phone and nodded frantically. The elders looked at each other in absolute, earth-shattering shock. The guards, sensing the shift in power, slowly lowered their weapons. Obinna finally turned his eyes to Prince Ikena. The billionaire's gaze was lethal. You claim you get royal blood, Abby, Obinna said, his voice quiet but echoing with immense menace. But your kingdom done secretly enter bankrupt. Ene me own your palace now. Do not ever speak to me, or to my future wife, about poverty ever again. Prince Ikena shrank backward, thoroughly and completely humiliated in front of the entire royal council. Obinna walked right past the defeated prince. But when he reached the elders, the ruthless corporate titan disappeared. He softened his posture and bowed his head respectfully to the ancient man. Elders of Oranto, Obinna said, his voice softening with genuine reverence. I did not come here today to disrespect your traditions with my money. I only used my wealth to clear the path so I could show you my heart. He reached into his pocket and pulled out 2 torn pieces of thick, legal parchment paper. He handed them directly to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister adjusted his glasses and read the torn papers. His ancient hands began to shake. This is a corporate will. A legally binding clause demanding you marry a woman of royal or billionaire status, or instantly forfeit 80% of your wealth. Obinna nodded, finally turning his eyes to look at Nneka. Before I knew Nneka was your princess, I was faced with a choice in my boardroom. Keep my 8 billion naira empire, or lose it all to stay with a roadside caterer who fed me when I was hungry. I chose her. I ripped that document in half in front of my board of directors. I was ready to walk away from my entire life's work and start from zero, because a throne or an empire is just an empty chair if the wrong person is sitting beside you. A heavy, beautiful emotional silence blanketed the palace gates. The elders, men who had seen decades of deceit, greed, and fake love, were deeply moved. Even Chief Ikamfuna nodded slowly, his harsh demeanor melting away into a look of absolute approval. Nneka could not hold back anymore. She broke past the royal guards, her heavy ancestral beads clinking in the wind, and threw herself into Obinna's arms. Obinna caught her, wrapping his arms around her so tightly it looked like he was trying to shield her from the world. You beautiful fool! Nneka cried into his chest, hitting his shoulder softly. I gave up the restaurant to save your company. I ran away to protect you. Obinna laughed, a deep sound full of pure joy. He wiped the tears from her beautiful face. I know, my love. Chef Chidi told me everything. You gave up 50 million naira for me. But you see, my princess, we are both terrible at letting each other go. Both of them chuckled. The Prime Minister stepped forward, a warm, bright smile spreading across his wrinkled face. He raised his ivory staff high into the air. A man who is willing to become a beggar for love is the only man fit to sit beside a queen, the Prime Minister declared loudly. The ancestors have spoken. We accept Chairman Obinna Ease. The palace guards enthusiastically struck their spears against their shields. The villagers erupted into joyful, deafening cheers. Prince Ikena, realizing he was completely and utterly defeated, quietly slipped away into the crowd, never to return. 1 month later, Abuja witnessed a wedding that will be talked about for generations. It was a perfect, beautiful merging of ancient royal tradition and modern billionaire power. The sweeper had married the caterer, but the world saw a titan marrying a queen. While Chief Ozoamina, Chuka and Auntie Ngozi face the harsh, bitter reality of a 20-year prison sentence for their greed and corporate sabotage, and Chief Balogun and his cold, greedy board members lost their place in E's group. Obinna and Nneka were busy building a legacy of light. Nneka didn't just take her restaurant Nneka's Pot back. With Obinna's corporate backing and her royal inheritance, the restaurant quickly became a massive national franchise. But they never forgot where they came from. They used their combined wealth to open culinary schools for struggling women and provided full scholarships for the poorest children in Aranto. And Obinna's heart also looked homeward. In his own village of Amudike, they built a state-of-the-art free maternity hospital, ensuring that wealth was not just hoarded, but shared. They had both faced the ultimate test. Obinna had tested the world by pretending to be a poor sweeper, and the world had tested Obinna by asking him to give up his billions. Money can buy you a mansion, but it cannot buy you a home. Royal blood can give you a title, but it cannot give you a pure heart. Never look down on the person sweeping the floor, for you never know the power they truly hold. And never let greed dictate your choices. True wealth is not measured by the millions in your bank account or the expensive designer clothes on your back. True wealth is finding someone who will stand by your side when you have absolutely nothing, and loving them enough to give up everything just to see them smile. Obinna started this journey holding a dirty broom. But because he valued character over cash, he ended up holding the heart of a queen. Wow! What a beautiful, incredibly emotional ending to an epic journey. The sweeper turned out to be a billionaire, and the caterer turned out to be a royal princess. I have absolute chills. Obinna ripping up an 8 billion naira will to prove his love, and Nneka returning a 50 million naira restaurant to save him. That is what you call true, undeniable love. What was your absolute favorite moment in this entire series? Was it when Obinna exposed Chuka at the party? When Femi the investigator dropped those royal documents in the boardroom? Or this epic clash at the palace gates? If this story touched your heart and kept you on the edge of your seat, please do me a massive favor. Smash that like button right now. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next epic story. And hey, if you are just finding this channel and you miss the intense drama in parts 1, 2, and 3, do not worry. Just click the link in the description box below or check the pinned comment to catch up on the full, mind-blowing saga from the very beginning. Drop a comment below. What moral lesson did you learn from Obinna and Nneka's love story? Let's keep the conversation going in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next incredible video. God bless.